Well, let's talk to the chairman of Republicans overseas, Greg Swenson. Good to see you this morning, Greg. What's your assessment of what President Biden has been able to achieve?
Well, I'm not sure how much he's achieved, but I have to say his statement was very positive. I thought he did a great job. He said what he had to say. I thought it was well scripted. His handlers, I thought, gave him a lot of a great script to read from. The question is what will he do? And unfortunately, it seems like the American public has lost confidence in President Biden. Even after this incident started 11 days ago, he's said all the right things. And again, I fully endorse what he's done so far. But the problem is he's only polling at 41% on this issue, which just tells me that the American public, the voters, have lost confidence in him. And I think the next issue is, what does he actually do here? So he said the right things so far. So, good for him. So far, so good. The memory lapse during the press conference didn't help yesterday. But other than that, I think so far, so good. And it was a very positive trip in spite of the cancellations, which I surely don't blame on President Biden.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder how much we can blame perhaps our obsession, the American obsession with, the home audience, the domestic audience, to actually how this whole escalation happened. The sort of looking inwards, the constant ratings and discussion about polling at home, when perhaps we've taken our eye off the ball on what was happening in the Middle East. I mean, surely yesterday President Biden wasn't thinking about his domestic audience for once and was actually trying to say something profound to the people in the region. I mean, saying things like, yes, be outraged, you're entitled to be outraged, but don't let it consume you like it did us after 9/11. I thought it was a very interesting, not only admission that they got things wrong, but sort of grandfatherly, profound insight.
Yeah, again, I don't think that was necessarily negative, because he's still, really fully supporting Israel and fully supporting the West. And I think this is a civilizational fight that we're in right now between Ukraine and in Iran and this conflict with Hamas. And it really goes back to Iran. But I think you can look at the first 2 years of his administration, the absolute debacle in Afghanistan, appeasing the Russians on Nord Stream 2. Remember, President Trump had blocked Nord Stream 2. Biden on day one lifted the switch, or flipped the switch on Nord Stream 2, and that really sent a message to Putin that he could get away with anything. And then, of course, he's been trying to buy the Iranians, buy the mullahs, with concessions, with lifting sanctions, and it's to the tune of well over $70 billion in revenue for the mullahs to execute these proxy wars with Hamas and Hezbollah and 18 other terrorist groups. So that really set him up quite poorly. It's only been in the last year where he's demonstrated some resolve in support for Ukraine, in support for Israel. So again, I'm all for it. I'm all for what he's done so far. But the question now is, what does he do? Does he actually put the sanctions back on Iran, or does he keep funding? Not only is he funding Hamas indirectly by funding Iran, but he's funding now both sides of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, because money from Iran is going to Russia. They're sending drones to Russia. So, this is something that he's got to change policy on, not just rhetoric.
OK, Greg, we'll leave it there for now, but good to see you this morning.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thanks.